Welcome to Game Honest's Weekly, your one-stop shop for video game news, keeping up with the biggest stories so you don't have to. I'm your host, Edwin Garcia, and today we are talking about a bunch of different PlayStation news, from quietly investing in PS5 exclusives to a AAA multiplayer game being published, also stuff like Jeff Kaplan leaving Blizzard, all those stories and a whole lot more on this week's episode. From rumored to confirmed to rolled back. The PlayStation Store on PS3 and PS Vita will continue operations after all, but the PSP Store is still shutting down. President and CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment Jim Ryan took to the PlayStation blog to discuss the decision, stating, quote, "Upon further reflection, however, it's clear that we made the wrong decision here, so today I'm happy to say that we'll be keeping the PlayStation Store operational for PS3 and PS Vita devices. PSP commerce functionality will retire on July 2nd, 2021 as planned." When we initially came to the decision to end purchasing support for PS3 and PS Vita, it was born out of a number of factors, including commerce support challenges for older devices and the ability for us to focus more of our resources on newer devices where a majority of our players are playing on. We see now that many of you are incredibly passionate about being able to continue purchasing classic games on PS3 and PS Vita for the foreseeable future, so I'm glad we were able to find a solution to continue operations. This is obviously good news for gamers because now you have the option to continue making these purchases. Even if you're someone that didn't care about making more purchases on these platforms, it doesn't hurt you for them to be available, so this is basically only good news. I will say I'm a little surprised by the decision because they sort of discuss like, oh, we clearly made the wrong move here. But personally, I didn't really see a lot of vitriol for the decision. I definitely saw some sadness, some sharing of listicles, everyone talking about the games you got to make sure you get before the stores close down. But it didn't feel like people were super angry about it. So frankly, I'm pretty surprised that they made the decision to overturn this and extend those stores. I'm very curious as to how long that extension is going to last, because I do feel like because of how the bottom line functions, it's inevitable that they will shut down these stores. I mean, they're still shutting down the PSP stores. So it's like, oh, all right, we care, but like not to all the way back. Now, granted, a lot of PSP games you can play on the Vita, so it's not like it's a huge loss to have the PSP store go away if we still have the Vita available. But yes, I was very surprised by this. I feel like we're living in the era of companies being especially game companies being like, we hear you and we see you and we're gonna change this if it's wrong. And that's good inherently, but it's a little bit weird. Mostly in that it just feels so unexpected to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm alone in being surprised by this, but I was not expecting to hear this be announced. One thing I do want to bring in, though, and this is something that had actually crossed my mind when I first heard this announcement, so I'm so glad to see that Patrick Klepek of Waypoint Vice actually took the time to write about this, and the headline reads, "These were supposed to be the last Vita games until they suddenly weren't." With the subhead, "Just hours before Sony reversed on closing the storefronts for Vita and PS3, a publisher announced their games would be the last to be released. Whoops." And the games in question were visual novel Synergia and a horror game Sense, a cyberpunk ghost story, as being potentially the last ones released for the platform. Klepek writes, "Sony told developers and the public that storefronts were closing at the same time, blindsiding both. The reversal was equally problematic, arriving for both simultaneously. The lack of communication from Sony has been one of the many sources of ire about this issue." Klepek took the time to speak to the aforementioned developer of these games, which is Top Hat Studios. Specifically, he spoke to producer Andy Hahn, who had this to say, "While it's good that gamers will continue to be able to pick up games when they want for the foreseeable future, it does put developers/publishers in a bit of a hard position. The store reversal is a nice gesture itself, but we still feel like the general situation leaves a lot of people like us in the dark. There hasn't been really any communication on the store or on further submissions, and its lack of clarity is very discouraging." Han continues by mentioning that increasingly deprecated release tools were one of the reasons that the games were coming out so late to begin with. Han delves into other issues with this decision, saying the reason why we wanted to get some last games onto the store so badly was actually more down to nostalgia reasons from ourselves. While we're sure that there would have been an uptick in sales from the planned closure and all the resulting attention in its final days, really the reason we wanted to get the games up was because some of the first work we did as a company was outsourced programming on Vita games, and we've been closely associated with the great Vita community online since day one of our publishing operations. And again, I love that Patrick took the time to write the story because, again, that was something really on my mind with hearing, oh, they're closing. Oh, no, they're opening again. They're going to be open for the foreseeable future. So if you're someone who is really excited about these stores remaining open, consider checking out those games. Again, they are Synergia and Sense coming out for the Vita, I think this coming week, and potentially show your support for that development team that was sort of blindsided by both of these announcements. Like earlier this month, we had discussions of unrest at PlayStation Studios and potential problems with the company at large. So interestingly enough, the reversal of this was like, oh, maybe this is like trying to get a bit of good press going. And I feel like this next thing is sort of similarly related. Like the ebbs and flows of what's going on at PlayStation are just so intriguing right now. And again, that brings us to our next story. Jim Ryan says PlayStation has been quietly investing in PS5 exclusives. This comes from Tom Ivan over at Video Games Chronicle, which is actually sourcing Nikkei, of which they did the translation of this article. Ivan wrote, the PlayStation boss said the company has been quietly investing in the creation of first-party software and that it could pursue further M&A opportunities to bolster its in-house development capabilities. Jim Ryan states, we've been quietly but steadily investing in high-quality games for PlayStation, and we will make sure that the PS5 generation will have more dedicated software than ever before. One thing that's really exciting about this, again, are those key words of it being more than ever before, because I already look at PlayStation as the place for exclusives. Like, sure, there's also Nintendo, and like, I guess a lot of times when I think of PlayStation competing in the market, I do think PlayStation versus Xbox more so than PlayStation versus Nintendo, even though I do think there's a lot of arguments to be made that competition does absolutely exist, and they are all competing for the same market. But because of the styles being so drastically different, I think of PlayStation a lot for like being a real powerhouse with exclusives, and exclusive titles being one of its most appealing traits. So for this to be the idea of having even more than what they already have, which is a lot, is very exciting and very enticing. But yes, personally, I am a big fan of exclusives. I do from a access standpoint, it's always nice when more people can play games, but from like a consumer standpoint, what gets me excited about having a certain platform or playing on a certain platform are the exclusive titles to that platform. So yay for more PS5 exclusives. And the PlayStation news continues as PlayStation and Firewalk Studios announced publishing partnership for a new original multiplayer IP. This comes over from the PlayStation blog directly. The studio head writes, today we're thrilled to announce a partnership with Sony Interactive Entertainment for our new original multiplayer game. For our team, the opportunity to create new worlds and inspire more amazing moments for players around the world is the fire and ambition that keeps us going. The PlayStation team has a deep love and respect for the medium of games and some of the best expertise and capabilities in the world to help make big ambitions a reality. We're already hard at work on development and have been having a ton of fun playing our game as a team. In fact, while we continued to grow our team during this challenging year, it was our daily online playtests that provided the most consistent point of joy and connection for our crew. The fun and laughter of playing together brought us closer, even if we were physically apart. Our goal is to be able to deliver that same joy to gamers, and we can't wait to share what we've been working on when the time is right. And actually, jumping back up to earlier in the post, they write about who is part of the studio, saying, our collective leadership team is no stranger to building memorable multiplayer experience. Ryan Ellis, our game director, was a creative director on Destiny. Elena Siegeman, our executive producer, was a producer on Guitar Hero 2, BioShock Infinite, and multiple Destiny releases. Our deeply talented team has helped bring to life franchises like Mass Effect and Apex Legends. Combined with my own experience and thousands of hours played on Call of Duty and Destiny, we've had the opportunity to deliver some of the decade's biggest experiences to gamers, and we've loved it. So of course, really the exciting bit of this comes from if you know those games, know those IPs, and are really excited about getting something of that quality, not necessarily the same kind of product, but just in that vein, in that genre, and that team can deliver on amazing multiplayer experiences, then that's what's really exciting about this. For me, I don't play Destiny, I don't play Apex, I have never played Guitar Hero, BioShock Infinite, or like pretty much any of these games listed. So obviously that's an incredible resume for sure, and I'm excited, again, speaking more to exclusive deals, of PlayStation exclusively publishing a AAA multiplayer game, sure, but it's not really my genre, so I'm not going to pretend like I have really specific high hopes for it. It's just nice to see companies making moves to better their portfolio. And the PlayStation news just keeps coming with PlayStation Plus Video Pass. This news came over from Video Games Chronicle, which at first it was just like a rumor based on having seen an ad on the Polish site of PlayStation.com, but it was confirmed since then as being an actual thing, with Sony Interactive Entertainment confirming PlayStation Plus Video Pass is a test service launching in Poland. The service allows PS4 and PS5 users in Poland to access over 20 movie and television shows from Sony Pictures as part of PlayStation Plus subscriptions, with more content being added every 3 months. So this is like a cool little additional thing to get. I mean, personally, I'm not really thrilled for having this content. And again, it's being tested in Poland. We don't really know what's going to happen and if it's going to make its way to everywhere. But like, okay, this is fine. Obviously, it's brought up a lot of people having Game Pass conversations with, is this going to be PlayStation's Game Pass? And I mean, well, first of all, no, because it's movies, it's not games. So there's that element of it. But I think it does speak to, if we put on like our speculation caps a little bit, I think it does speak to what they may be doing. If anything, I think this might hint further that they're not really going to do PlayStation Game Pass, essentially. When you combine this with, well, one, there's PlayStation Plus has monthly game offerings. There's also the PlayStation Plus collection. Now there's PlayStation Plus Video Pass. It seems like there's going to be a suite of PlayStation Plus services that offer a slew of things, from free monthly games to marquee titles to now movies. And, it's different. Everyone does their own thing. Again, PlayStation is under that Sony umbrella, so it seems to make sense. They want to help get movies to push the games and games to push the movies and have it all work together because it is one company at the end of the day, at least like at the top of everything. So yeah, this is fine. Like it's whatever. I don't have strong feelings for it. Another video service. There's so many video services and video things. One thing that is nice though is that it's just lumped in. It's always nice when something you're already signed up for, you just get something extra. So this doesn't hurt me or anything. So sure, bring it over. Why not? Next up, Jeff Kaplan leaves Blizzard, most notably Overwatch's game director. And now Aaron Keller, a Blizzard veteran and founding member of the Overwatch team, will be stepping in as game director. And on that blog post, they do have both Aaron and Jeff's statement. I'm just going to read Jeff's statement since that's sort of how I couched it and led this off with. It's pretty short, which some people were like, oh, it's kind of short, right? But, this is what he had to say. I'm leaving Blizzard Entertainment after 19 amazing years. It was truly the honor of a lifetime to have the opportunity to create worlds and heroes for such a passionate audience. I want to express my deep appreciation to everyone at Blizzard who supported our games, our game teams, and our players. But I want to say a special thanks to the wonderful game developers that shared in the journey of creation with me. Never accept the world as it appears. Always dare to see it for what it could be. I hope you do the same. GG, Jeffrey Kaplan. I can't believe he signed it GG. Did it... Hold on, did that take anyone else out of the fond farewell? Like, it's a multiplayer game. Like, I don't know. It just felt like a little bit, I'm just very surprised. Also, like, did anyone else, if you looked at the actual statement written on the Overwatch website, notice that it was all like lowercase? Like, nothing was capitalized, not even the first sentence. Like, I'm not trying to, I have no grand theory on why he wrote it that way, but it's very casual. That's a very casual vibe. But yeah, that's basically it. I don't have a lot of strong opinions on this. Again, not an Overwatch fan, so obviously Kaplan had a tremendous impact on both the game and the studio at large. So we'll see, work keeps going on and things have to keep moving. Hopefully the team puts out another amazing game, because even though I don't play Overwatch, I do acknowledge what it has going for it, and hope to see good things for Overwatch 2. Next up, Amazon cancels Lord of the Rings game announced 2 years ago. This comes over from Jason Schreier at Bloomberg, who writes, an Amazon spokesperson confirmed that after Tencent's acquisition of Liao, we have been unable to secure terms to proceed with this title at this time. The Amazon team working on the game will be moved to other projects. We love the Lord of the Rings IP and are disappointed we won't be able to bring this game to customers, the spokesperson for the Seattle-based company said in a statement. The cancellation follows a string of bad news for Amazon Game Studios, which has been unable to release a successful video game since launching in 2014. The company has canceled previous announced games, Breakaway and Crucible. Another of its game, New World, has been delayed repeatedly. I'm honestly surprised Amazon's Game Studios is even still going, because it really has been a mess of things. But oh gosh, I don't even know, because part of me wants to say that it speaks to the commitment of like, no, we're sticking by this, we're going to keep supporting it, we're going to keep working on it, we believe in making these games. But then it also, I think, speaks to it just not working. So I'm really excited to see if they get something out the door and we can kind of assess from there, because for now it's like, okay, we're learning. It's interesting because it's like a large company learning that making games is hard, is what it kind of feels like. So hopefully something comes of all that labor, but it won't be the Lord of the Rings game. And now for my favorite headline of this week, maybe of all time, Nintendo suing Bowser over Switch hacks. I'm gonna say that again, Nintendo suing Bowser over Switch hacks. This comes over from Nicole Carpenter at Polygon, who writes, Nintendo of America filed a lawsuit Friday against Gary Bowser, a reported leader of hack creators team executor. You really can't make this stuff up. Bowser and another team executor member, Max Lauren, were arrested and charged with 11 felony counts in 2020. The new lawsuit alleges Bowser infringed on Nintendo's copyright in creating and selling its hacks. The lawsuit filed in a Seattle court is looking to charge Bowser for 2 trafficking counts and 1 copyright violation. And there's a lot more here to read up on if you're interested in delving further into the legality and the logistics of the whole situation, but outside of the fact that like the names are amusing, I will say this is one reason why Nintendo is so vehement about protecting its IPs, and as much as they could let a lot more things slide, and I do think they take it too far a lot of the times, one of the reasons that they're so aggressive about copyright is when stuff like this happens that is a bigger deal, they have sort of evidence or a history of disputing things in terms of their copyright and protecting their copyright and their IP and being very active about that. You really can't, I don't think anyone can get away with, obviously this is very much like a super clear infringement and at a larger scale, but like you can't ever be surprised when Nintendo comes after you for stuff because they are vehement about it. Now for awards and accolades. We have our DICE Award winners. So head to DICE's website for the full list of winners, but most notably, Game of the Year went to Hades. So congratulations to Hades, as well as all the other games that won, plus the nominees. And for the free section, online multiplayer is free for all free-to-play games on Xbox platforms. That's finally rolled out, so you no longer need Xbox Live in order to actually go online with free-to-play games. Ludonarrativecon took place over this past weekend, and with it came a bunch of demos available on Steam. There are a whole bunch of titles to play, such as Zavoda 1945 Liberation, No Longer Home, Welcome to Beacon Pines, Nuts, which is a puzzle game, Umurangi Generation, which is also a photography game. This one was actually recommended to me really recently, so I want to check that out. Genesis Noir, Forgotten Fields, Not for Broadcast Prologue, The Longest Road on Earth, Button City, which is a game that I'm really looking forward to. It's about trying to save an arcade and your cute little animals. Tunic, which has a long time been anticipated by a lot of people. It is a kind of Zelda-like game, which plays a little fox. Love Shores, Lake, The Dark Side Detective, She Dreams Elsewhere. This one is a game I've been looking forward to for a long time. It was put on my radar by Blessing from Kind of Funny. There's also Song of Farka, Prologue, The Invisible Hand, Space for the Unbound, Chicory, which seems to like have this kind of paintbrush mechanic. The art style is like very whimsical, almost watercolor-like. You got Out There, Ocean's Time, Mind Scanner, Murder Mystery Machine, Do Not Buy This Game, Kraken Academy, Venice 2089, Wayward Strand, Ambition, Spiritfarer, including the Lily update that has a demo, Game Director Story, Teacup, Minute of Islands. This one was highlighted to me by someone on MinMax. I want to say it was maybe Kyle Hilliard, but I don't remember who from the MinMax crew was like, hey, you should check this out, keep an eye out for it. I Was a Teenage Exocolonist, Later Daters, Part 2, and Unpacking, which is a game about unpacking, which sounds awesome. So a lot of different games highlighted here. Go check out the page and potentially download some of these demos and see how they are. Speaking of demos, Resident Evil Village. The demo for that game, combining the village and the castle area, is going to be available to all platforms starting North America May 1st from 5 p.m. PT to May 2nd, 5 p.m. PT. So that's not a whole lot of time, but you have about a window of 1 day to spend up to 1 hour across both of the areas that have been showcased on the PS4 and PS5 demos. It can be a little bit confusing, but all you really need to know is that the largest version of any demo we've gotten so far for this game is going to be available this coming weekend. So if you're interested in digging into that, check it out. Europe, Asia, all those other times are listed online. And finally, we're at the Shut Up and Take My Money section. Lego Luigi is here in all of his glory, and I honestly love Lego Luigi. Interactive character, goes with those interactive Lego set that Lego put out earlier. There was a Mario one, now there's a Luigi one. They're really cute as like little figurines and collectibles. Obviously this is for a younger age demographic, but They look awesome on their own even, so exciting news if you're into those kind of collectibles. There is going to be an Assassin's Creed children's book. In Ubisoft's presser, they write Assassin's Creed meets Mr. Men and Little Miss. The most iconic heroes of the Assassin's Creed franchise are joining the ranks of the Mr. Men and Little Miss famous picture book series. By mixing the Assassin's Creed sense of adventure and history with the colorful and delightful designs of the Little Mr. Men, these books will appeal to both young and adult readers. And for the format, it says 6 volumes, so I think we can expect quite a few books from this. The art looks super adorable. I'm into this. It's so kind of out of left field, but I think it's such a smart play. And yeah, it's just adorable. I love how it looks. And those are all the big stories we have for this week. Thank you so much for watching over on YouTube. Be sure to like, subscribe, and tap the bell. Be sure to leave a comment as well, talking about anything I discussed in this episode, any comments, questions, concerns. And if you're listening on podcast services, be sure to rate. It helps the show a whole lot. And of course, I cannot leave without giving a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon who help make this show possible. You too can support over on patreon.com/GameHonestus. We got incentives starting as low as the $1 tier to as high as the $25 tier. And as always, I will see y'all here next time. Bye.